I would like to talk about the time that my grandmother had her first heart attack and how I was physically blamed for it. I think it was 84 or 85. Things were really, really bad at home. My grandfather's alcoholism took epic levels. He was drinking every single day, and I could pick up that there was something wrong, that there was something not quite right, but I didn't know what it was. There was a lot of fighting between my grandparents and my mum about me and stuff like that. I remember in the lead up to my grandmother's heart attack, collapse, whatever you call it, she was very, very depressed. She would do things like just come and squeeze me and hold on to me, like, and hug me, and be hysterically crying, and she wouldn't tell me why or anything like that. And she would just have episodes like this. The actual night of the heart attack, I remember I had my tea and the plates were put on the sink. And my grandmother sat down in her chair and she was doing all this weird stuff, like her eyes were rolling in the back of her head. She was really dozy, sleepy. I'm not sure if she'd actually taken something or what the deal was there, but she'd done something. I immediately picked up that there was something wrong. I rang an ambulance, and then I rang Luba, who came around. The first time I rang Luba, she basically said, "We'll call an ambulance," which I did. The second time, she rang me and asked if the ambulance had arrived, and she called me a troublemaker. Anyway, the ambulance hadn't arrived by the time that Luba had got to our place. She only lived around the corner. And basically, Luba had to ring them a third time to tell them to hurry up. By now, my grandmother was had collapsed on the lounge room floor, and she was screaming and yelling. I didn't know what for or why, but she was. And basically, I was shunted off into a bedroom. The door was shut, and I was told I had to stay there and not leave. Anyway, she was taken out on a brush by two paramedics. Apparently the story goes from Luba that she had to receive a further 2 Valium in the ambulance. She was that hysterical. I remember I lay awake at night crying all night because I thought I was to blame, and I could hear Paul, who was supposed to be my uncle, in the dining room talking to my grandfather, and basically telling him how her collapse or her health condition was all my fault. And I basically was led to believe that the information that was withheld from me was that she had a pre-existing heart condition that she had had ever since she was a kid, which had no bearing on me or anything I did or could not have did or anything like that, that I was not made aware of. all I knew is that all the adults were blaming me, so therefore it must have been my fault. I know now it wasn't my fault, and none of my grandmother's health conditions were my fault. But back then, hearing that from adults being told to a 10-year-old, terrible. Okay, thanks.